Good afternoon, everyone. Um, we'll wait for another 1 minute. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll wait for another 1 minute. Okay, so we'll start now. Good afternoon again. I am Satvik Acharya, one of the NLP mentors for HackerSpace at PES University. As part of our flagship hackathon, SpaceJam, HackerSpace has collaborated with IBM to bring you a workshop on an introduction to the IBM Watson Studio. The IBM Watson Studio is IBM's premier application to carry out various AI and data science related tasks. It also has an integrated environment with support for various frameworks and other open source languages. So, the idea behind this workshop is to give you an understanding of how to use IBM Watson Studio, how to build various APIs, and most importantly, how to integrate it with your projects for SpaceJam. With that being said, this workshop will be conducted by one of IBM's finest, Prasthana MJ. Let me give you a brief introduction about Prasthana. Prasthana MJ is an AI consultant for supply chain solutions working with IBM Insights and Intelligence Expert Labs. She has driven to develop solutions around artificial intelligence for supply chain solutions. She has also been a part of multiple AI development initiatives around supply chain for various clients across the globe. Something which you probably could relate with her is that she's participated in lots of hackathons, some of the prominent ones being the IBM AI hackathon. She's also had code initiatives on various AI solutions, delivered IBM ISL White session on ML development cycle, and most importantly, she was also a co-author for various technical course materials. So we hope from everyone at HackerSpace that you have a wonderful and interactive session. Over to you, Prasthana.
Uh, First of all, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Satvik. So let me just quickly share my screen and go through the course. Yeah. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, cool. So today it's not only Watson Studio I'll be covering, it's more on Watson services. So when I got to know what's the hackathon and the intent behind, so I thought I'll cover a little broader topic, so it'll be useful for all of you, so you can easily integrate some of the application. So here I'll be touching over all the Watson services that are available in our IBM cloud platform. So you could easily integrate with it using some APIs, endpoints, and easily use in whatever applications or whatever you develop. So saying that, today's session is morely focused on Watson services. So what is this Watson service, right? Basically, we all know this is a SaaS world, or infrastructure as a service or software as a service. Everything is hosted as a service. So in that, in this world, so we have a lot of Watson services that are available. So it has made a developer's life, or any developer's life, easy to easily integrate and easily get the result, right? So in case if you want to develop a chat system, we already have a service called Watson Assistant. You can just integrate it. And in the chat system, in case if I want to analyze some tone and get some analytics and get some personal analytics or sentimental analysis, I can use personal insights and get the tone analysis and know if my whoever is chatting, or it might be a customer service, it might be a banking, in a banking sector it might be a customer service, if they're happy, if they're sad, and some kind of tone analysis also can be done. So in case if you just see the services available today, you can just build an entire story around it and use it. So saying that, Watson Services is a AI intelligence offering from IBM. So it has lot of capabilities. First is understanding all forms of data. That means you have a lot of connectors to all your data sources. It might be MongoDB, it might be Cassandra, it might be any sources. You can always connect and do it. So you might be thinking, okay, this all are the database. What do I do with the web forms, right? So usually what do we do? If there is a website already available, how do you scroll over and get the data, right? So for that also we do have a service called Watson Knowledge service, which basically scrolls through all your data, website data, and builds query on top of it. That gives you an ability to build your own query on top of it, then to interact naturally with the people. I've already told this. So it's nothing but a Watson assistant, which can, it's a just an assistant. When you think of an assistant, I'll go in detail the assistant, and I'll give you some real world examples so that you can always relate to and learn. And then it's learn and reasons at scale, right? So every time you want it to relearn, or you want it to predict something, so that capability is available in all our services. So what happens, like how does it work, you will be knowing as and when you use it. So currently I'll be touching upon all the services available, just to give you an idea that what all services are available. So first is the AI assistant, which I was just talking about. It's a Watson assistant. So you might have been very familiar with lot of assistant already. It might be Alexa, it might be Google, it might be Siri, right? So similarly, you can build some assistant. So this assistant, whatever I'm talking about, it's a natural language assistant, which you can chat with the natural language and get a response. So where can you find these kind of assistants, right? In case if you're using some banking apps, in case if you're using some food delivery apps, you usually have something that's pre-related, like how can I help you? And in case if you choose which order do you want, and it's the conversation is pre-built. So in such kind of scenarios, Watson assistants can be very helpful. And not only that, in case if you want to fetch APIs, and you can always choose and train your dialogues, your intent entities. This might be a new word, right? I'll be explaining everything in a little brief so that you'll understand what it means and you can easily develop. Next is we have something called data. So data is, whenever you think of data, it might be like AI, it might be Watson or AI, basically machine learning, AI stuffs might be running through your head, right? Because machine learning is like data is a very important for any model to run. Okay. So for data, we have Watson Studio. So just before the introduction, you all thought of Watson Studio because it was there in the title telling that IBM Watson Studio, introduction on IBM Watson Studio, right? So this is nothing but a platform where you can build your model. So similar to your Jupyter notebook, even Watson Studio provides its own notebook, and it has a lot more features. It's not only notebook, you have Auto AI, where Auto AI or Auto ML, where you can just upload your data and your behind the engine, whatever engine it tries to build, come up with a model, it tries to do an evaluation, it does a feature engineering, it gives you an end result. And we can just see a live example of it. So this is what AutoAI does. So it has a, you can integrate in your Watson Studio as well. So Watson Studio is basically a platform where you can connect through various environment, run the job and code and add your codes as well. Then coming to, you have something called Watson machine learning. So Watson machine learning, it's a service which is used to deploy your model. So once you have done with your model, right? You want a space where you can deploy your model and get the outcome, your final, basically your final outcome, right? So that is where Watson machine learning is used. Then Watson knowledge catalog. This is nothing but a catalog where you can uh, read the information or just to store all your catalogs. So that's where I'll be just going through very briefly for this Watson Studio part, so you can see more on how it is being used, and you can quickly integrate it with, or you can always deploy your model also. So I'll be just walking you through the step. Next is a knowledge. So here we have discovery news. discovery, natural language understanding, and knowledge studio. So I was just telling, right? What about all the databases I had just given the example? What about if you want to read some information from a website and scroll through it and get some data, right? It might be some unstructured data. So that is where this Watson knowledge discovery comes into picture, or discovery news. So you can basically scroll through any website or any document or any sources just to get some intents. Basically, something like usually we tend to use this kind of services to scroll through your websites or any client's website. You want to get some information, so it can do that. Next is visual recognition. So this service has made our life really easy. So in case if you want to classify your image, classify in the sense it might be as simple as I'm just giving a very base example, okay? It might be an image of animals. What percent of what chances that animal is a dog or a cat or some other things, right? You have a lot of classification like that. So based on that, you could classify, and I'll be showing one or two example today to how does it classify based on certain image. Then we have speech. So uh, this is nothing but your speech to text or text to speech service, where you can convert your speech to text or text to speech. That service is also already available. So in case if you want to build a story, you can connect your speech to text with Watson Studio, and from Watson Studio you can connect to knowledge center of any website you want to scroll through it and get the information. And in case if you want to do some tone analysis, you can just go through the last empathy. So you can literally build a story around it in case if you want to use it in your any hackathon or any project. After this, we have some language translators. So in case if you want to translate from one language to another, or some translation, you can use the service. There is a natural language classifier as well to classify based on any classification, right? If you want to run through happy, sad, or this can be a tone analysis. I'm not going specific to that, but any kind of classifier, like any kind of classification you want based on the word where it is derived, anything, like in case if you found some AI, you want to classify all the all the chats based on each of your, uh, maybe you're running some enterprise app on banking and you want to know the sum of queries asked to a related sector, maybe a credit card. So you can run this natural language classifier to just to classify how many people have asked questions related to your credit cards and not something like that. So it can be as simple as that. Next is personal insight. That's what I was just telling. In case if you want to know some insights, or if you want to know personality insights, like if a person, how's the person, like is a good or whatever it might be, right? Is very angry. So this where you in the real world, where can it be applied, right? In case if you think any of your customer service, so whenever you want to know beforehand if the customer is very angry or he's happy or whatever it is, right? Either of the two, either you can use personality insights to know the insights about that person, or you can use the tone analyzer. Tone analyzer is basically used to understand the tone, if he's happy, sad, angry. So just by the words or just by this, you can know the scoring, and you can that can be made available to your end user in such a way that he just to give him some insight that the person is happy. So you must have seen this kind of analyzer in your Gmail or any kind of your app, where it gives you whatever the mail you have typed, it's in good shape or bad or very bad, or it gives you certain kinds of insights, right? So this is where you can see this kind of services. So this was a very high level on all the services available. So now let's just go a little bit detail on Watson Studio. So as I had told, Watson Studio is a platform. So you have lot of tools. So starting with your Jupyter notebook, you have R Studio, you have SPSS modeler, you have AutoAI, you have decision optimization. So these are the pre-built, or some of the tools are already available in your Watson Studio. It doesn't mean that it's only these kind of tools, right? You have some runtimes also. So when you tell runtimes, what is it like? You have some machine learning runtimes as well as deep learning runtimes. So whenever you try to code inside Watson Studio, you'll need some libraries basically, right? You'll need some sklearn or whatever libraries, right? Some Spark or Pandas or whatever libraries. So those runtimes or those libraries are already made available. Sometimes you might have to install, or you might have to run. So that is also there. And scalable and modern infrastructure. So the infrastructure within whatever Watson Studio is being. This is managed by our OpenShift or Docker or Kubernetes, so something like orchestration platforms. And you have lot of like memory is decent enough with your light version or whatever version you get. So it's just to analyze your data no matter where it lives, or that means you have a lot of connectors to connect with. So you can find connectors for MongoDB or any DB. So I'll be showing you to the through the live demo where you can just see from what all are available, and you can always go through it. Next is to empower your enterprise with notebooks and visual productivity or any visual representation, basically, right? So you can always, there's those kind of libraries also, you can make it available just by doing some install. And you have a lot of versions, like which version of code you want to run it, and you want to run it in Python or any languages. So language support is also there. And you can do an analysis and always build and deploy it in your Watson machine learning. So this is a very high level about Watson Studio. So it's not only a space where you can just code, you can just add collaborators, you can just do multiple things. You can build a auto AI, you can build some analytic dashboards, you can do a lot of things. It's not just this. So this is just a brief a thing what all it can do. You can prepare the training data, you can design, you can deploy. Then it's just a open source component which it's already available. So open source as in like you can use light version. There's certain limitation with using light version. So anytime if you want to use it in your hackathon here, you can directly go and instantiate the service, or just go and create the service. And I'll be just walking you through with that small step so that it becomes easy for you as well. And then you have some open source components like Python or Apache Spark or Notebook or something like all the notebooks. You have those components and some added values like what's in machine learning. I was just telling to what's in machine learning is used to deploy a model. So it doesn't do just deployment. It deployment is a very huge thing. It used like you should also manage your model, right? It's not just deployment. So it does all that. And then you have some decision optimizer that is already present as part of your Watson Studio. Then you have some SPSS predictive analytics. So you can just do some analytics over some of your data and you can use that. And you can also have some of the analytical dashboard. So these are some of the IBM components that have been added. So just to go with the components, right? In Watson Studio, what we generally do is we just add something called projects. So projects are nothing but so in case if you're working on some hackathon, so everything could be under some single project, right? So that's a way to organize all your resources or data and try to integrate and collaborate with the other people. So each project can be of different, like in case if you're working for something related project, like some group, or you can add collaborators for your entire project, or you can just share your single code. So these kinds of features are already available. And there is something called cloud object storage. So this is nothing but a cost. It's similar to your S3. This is a IBM offering where you can just store the data in, and basically it's tightly integrated with your Watson or the Watson Studio. So any resources you use within your code, right? It might be a CSV file or JSON file or any file, basically whichever you need as an environment in your code gets created. So in Watson, similar to your S3, even in your cost bucket, cost storage, everything is stored as a bucket. So whenever you try to instantiate any service, right, through a Watson Studio, a dedicated bucket is being created, and all the assets you add in Watson Studio get stored in your cloud object storage or the cost storage. So that is what this tells. So this is just the project. These are the assets. So I am just skipping through this part because I'll be showing detail in the demo. So then some of the artifacts we can see, some of the already available data sets also we can see. So you have that community gallery where you can find a lot of data sets and a lot of things, then collaborating. So this all I think we can just go through the demo and I can just show you through. So I'm just quickly switching over my screen. So basically, initially, if you want to log in, I can just show it from scratch. You can just go to cloud.ibm.com. So in case if you already have the access, that's okay. In case if you don't have the access, you can, let me just switch on to my incognito window, and you can just, I think there's cloud.ibm.com. So here you can just go and create an account as well. So you can just go create an account with the email ID you have, do a verification, give some details, give some password, then I think you should be set. So all the services I've told is the light version of that service is available for any user. So you can just go and create a Gmail ID and just use the Watson services. So for example, here I'm using one of my Gmail ID. I've already created the account. You can just go ahead and create the account. This is very simple. It's similar to the usual process of creating any accounts. So here you basically you may not find any resources currently because I haven't done. I've just started a new instance. I've just created and kept. So maybe the resource list, resource summary, you can see it as 0, right? So maybe I want to go and check for Watson Studio, right? For any users who log in, just give me a second. For any users who logs in, has this free instance, so you can always choose this light version, which comes up with not much resources, but it's you can just use it for any POCs or any hackathons or something like that. But you will need an intense resource only for enterprise level, or in case if you're doing a very big project. So unless that, you can always use this, and you can always choose a location. So I would prefer either London or Dallas. Dallas I don't prefer because it was down last week. So I think going with London is okay. And you can always go and just click on this create. It takes some time to create your service. As soon as your service is created, you can just click on this get started. This takes you to the platform. That's nothing but your, we call it this platform as CloudPath for data, but it takes directly redirects to that where you find all the components related to your data. So here I have Watson Studio, I have Watson Machine Learning. It's just giving me an introduction. You can just click on continue and just go to Watson Studio. So this is the initial view you will end up whenever you have already logged in also. Here, if you just click on this hamburger icon here on the top, it's called a navigation menu. It's on the top left here. You can see all the things available. You have home, you have your projects. Currently, there are no projects. And the deployment space or the services, your gallery. I'll just walk you through a little later. Let's first see how do you create a project. Just create a new project, and because you can just either create an empty project, or for now I'll just creating an empty project, telling that it's a test demo 1. And you can always restrict here. You can add, in case if you don't have any services, this is where it's asking for your storage services. It might be a COS or any services, right? You can always use it. So here I'm just creating a COS. Even in COS you can see how much storage. There is a limitation on storage also. So I'm just instantiating or creating a COS bucket as well to use inside my Watson Studio. Just clicking on create. So in case if you just refresh it, it will automatically pick your storage. So now here you can give some description telling that this is a test demo project to be organized as part of the hackathon. Something like this. And you can always restrict your collaborators and choose any option. So all the uh, so like how many collaborators you want in your space, so those kind of things you can always set. So seeing that, you can just click on create. It might take some time for you to create the project, or let me just switch back in case if it's taking too much of time. I have some projects already created in my IBM ID, so I think it's just got created. So here you have some overview. Okay, you can just skip the tour or you can always take it. So it gives you an information on what each component means in the screen. So let me just start with the overview tab. It just gives you an overview of who all are the collaborators. Since I've created this project, I've become an admin. So you can just do view all, and here in case if you want to add someone, you can add. Basically, you can put their email address and just add, and whatever role you want to assign them, you can always assign. So this is the access control tab. And in this overview tab, it just gives you an overview on what each thing is. Here you can always add the documentation of your project. Maybe how do you want someone to know what it's about initially when they come, and what the steps they have to follow to do. So it's basically a readme file in your git also, so it's similar to that. And you can just see some of the activities that you've done in case if you have some activities done. So I can just switch back to show you those activity screen here. So this is a one more account tied to my IBM ID. So I've just created one more ID just to show you the how you can use how you basically use or create Watson Studio instance from scratch. So that's why I just use that ID, so that you'll, because in case if I just show it here, you might get confused because I already have a lot of services available. So yeah. So you can have multiple projects. So in case if you see here, I have multiple projects. So I'm just going through this sales prediction of some linear regression model which I have done. So you can just see it in your overview tab on what all the assets available, what are the collaborators, and the readme I haven't added, and how much of space is being used, and who all are the collaborators. It's just me, so yeah. Then you have something called assets. I'll just continue here. So assets is something you can add any assets or any data needed for your uh, model. So there are two ways to add your assets. Sorry, there are two ways to add your asset. One is just click on new asset, browse, load it. Next is similar, same. What are the files available? Next is you can just do it from a catalog, and since you have no assets in your catalog, it just tells you. This is one way to add your data. Second way is you can see there is something called add to project, right? It's highlighted in blue. So you can click on that. You have lot of you have data, you have connections, you have connected data. So let's go to data. So data is nothing but the same file where it'll just redirect you to the same thing where you can just load it. And next you have something called connections. So connections gives you all type of connections that are available through this service. So here you can see there are a lot of connectors available to all your DBs. It might be cloud object storage, it might be SQL, it might be DB2, it might be anything, right? There are a lot of services available, and some third party applications as well, like you might have heard some of the Azure databases or Azure storages or Postgres SQL or Oracle. So you basically have uh, connectors to all this. So you can just click on it and use it. Right? It's as simple. So maybe the Elasticsearch one, you can just put the connection name, the host name, username, password, and just connect it. So in IBM Cloud, so what it provides is there is a secure gateway service as well along with this. So what it does, right, basically. So in case if you have your service somewhere hosted in your VM or some IP that is not accessible to your internet, basically. Okay, it's in your some private network, or it's within your private network. So you have already hosted it there and you want to use the service, and what do you do, right? So that is where your secure gateway service comes into your rescue. So it forms a tunnel to your IP, and it provides a public IP where you can hit that and access your whatever services in the end. So that is where you use this secure gateway service. This is also one of the services in IBM Cloud. You can easily procure one and create a service. So since I have already created a service called test, it's coming up. Otherwise, it'll show you to create a service. So this is more on the connectors and the all the available connectors. So let's just go back to our project and see what are the other things that are available. So then you have this AutoAI experiment where you can perform any AutoAI experiment based on your sales data or sales prediction or any data, right? So let's see how does this work. So I have to just give some sample here. So auto test demo for a hackathon. So in case if you're not very familiar with machine learning and you don't know you're like you don't know which algorithm to apply and you're very new to it, but you still want to learn and see what it means, right? So what you can do is once you have the data, you can just go here, create this auto AI experiment, click on it, and but you'll have to always associate it with the what's in machine learning. So I'm just associating this service as well here. So here I already have machine learning. So how do you create this machine learning, right? Let me just go and show here so that I don't have anything here. So it might be a little clear. Clicking on Auto AI experiment, just a test demo, associate to a Watson assistant, Watson machine learning basically. Here you will not have anything. So you can just add a new service. It gives you a catalog of what all services are available. Here I'm just checking in the Watson machine learning service. And with the light version, you have some instance where you have some 20% capacity, 20 services capacity. That should be okay for you for any kind of a POC also. So you can just create it. So Watson machine learning is charged per call you make. So usually it's charged by that. But in light version, you have some free calls, I guess. So once you create this, you will have it in this service list. Should ideally have or so I'm just associating the service. Just do a reload here. It's associated. From the list, you can just use this. And yes, now you can just create a demo one. So once you're done with here, so this is a auto AI. You can either browse or select from a project and add a CSV here. Let me just try browsing and adding a data source. Sales prediction. So what can I do is I already have a service here. So you can just go and take the data from here and upload it back. So I have already stored some data as part of this. So I'm just taking, or it's called advertising data. That's why I couldn't find it. I'm just downloading it so that I can show this AutoAI experiment. So anyone here could use it. So from here, you just select this data set. It's just an advertising data set. It's just to do a sales prediction basically. So in case if my sales will go high or down. So let's see what does the model do. So once you upload the data, it will automatically try to do, and it will ask which column you want to predict, right? So I'm just telling I want to predict on the sales based on my sales in. So this has already come up with the regression type, and it does a optimized metric based on my RMSE score. So everything is done. So I'm just running my experiment. So if you just see here, based on the dataset I've uploaded, it just does a run in the backend, trying to choose various different models, and whichever it has an appropriate, it forms a different pipelines, and it will give a pipeline comparison telling that what each pipeline brings to you and which has a good score. And you can do an analysis on top of it. You can just go click on each of things and see what are the feature importance taken in each of them. And sometimes it does a extra feature transformation also based on your past features. Maybe you have given one or two features, it does some two three, it just tries to extrapolate two three features from the given feature and gives you an end result. So in case if you want to use some ML model very quickly, and you're not that familiar with model building, you can quickly use this service. So that this can be very useful to easily come up with a service. And in this service, the one good thing is you can automatically deploy your model as well. So if everything can be done in a UI in just a second or within some time. So it can be as simple as that. The only thing you might have to do is just to integrate that score with your whatever output or whatever you want. So this looks like this would take some time. Depends on your data set, how much data you have, and it has to go through the pipeline. So the time it has told is some 85 seconds. Looks like it's taking too much of time. Meanwhile, I had already done some predictions based on few data. I can just show you that as well. So this might give you and help you to understand how Auto AI works. So this was just a test thing which I had done. Looks like it has already done the training, and it's done doing in some k-fold. So yeah, so this is what I've already done. So this might be just helpful. So I had taken some set to predict some demand. Basically, demand and supply is very crucial in supply chain for us. So to predict the demand, basically what might be the demand tomorrow based on certain purchases, certain cycle is what this was supposed to be. And that's why I had used a very basic data set. It's not like it has many columns or many features. So it does a fold, and it tried to do a model selection. Basically, it had used two kind of regressor. One is ridge, one is random forest. And based on that, it's doing this hyperparameter tuning. That's nothing but tuning your model further. And after tuning it a little bit, or the tuning your data, it has done a feature engineering, and then it does further tuning of your model. So this is how it runs. So we can just go back here. The pipeline is almost complete. So here, in case if you see, it has used this XGB regressor as well as this extra tree regressor. And in each of the cut, you can just see what all the data set it has considered. 90% for your test data and 10% as a holdout, or the folds. Folds is nothing but how many folds it has taken to come up with this, right?
I'm sorry to disturb you.
Yeah.
Someone in the comment section has asked if it's, in AutoML, is it possible to change the optimization metric to their needs?
Yes, yes. You can always change. So in case if you don't want your RMSE square, or if you want some other parameters, you can always come here, and you have this pipeline comparison, right? You can always there are other lot of metrics. It's not only RMSE, right? You have this absolute mean error, you have mean squared error. There are a lot of other comparisons. So based on that, you can always sort and get the right model to you. So these are the basic metrics which all the regression works. Okay, they consider all the metrics. So it might be RMSE, it might be your mean absolute error, mean squared error. So these are the metrics we usually consider while training. So almost in case if you're using sklearn or any other libraries, right, you might be very familiar with these scores. Like these are the scores which we literally consider and we determine the accuracy of the model. So you can sort with based on these scores, or you might think this might be helpful, or any of these scores you can just sort it and get the model pipeline. So once you get this pipeline, right, I hope that answered your question. If you have any further questions, just jot a note. Since I'm sharing my screen, I may not be seeing it. Safik, please help me to tell if there are any questions on the comments.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Yeah. So basically, once the thing is identified, this is very much useful whenever you don't have much knowledge on all the regression algorithms or any classification algorithms. This is not like it'll just solve just your regression problems. It might be a classification or any kind of problem, right? So AutoAI helps in that. So soon after this, I'm just taking RMSE square and whichever it is, I'm just doing a save as here. So here I'm just saving my model. So here it will just ask for two of things. Either you can just create a Watson machine learning asset with this data as well. So I'm just trying to create it. Okay, there was an error. Just create a notebook out of it, and then let me just promote it to a space. So in case if you see here, I've tried saving it as a notebook. So it gives you a detailed step which it has followed, and it may not give you that the exact code which you usually get in your whenever you develop it. It might be a little different from that, but it gives you a structure on what all it has followed. So from here, what can you do is you can just click on here and just promote it and add it, and here when you click on this promote, you can either promote it or add it or whatever. So let me just try doing it and deploying it in my Watson studio, but looks like it's causing some problem. So this model has failed for some reason, but usually you can always go here and deploy. So currently there are no spaces. So that's also one more thing important when you're trying to deploy your model. So what happens is whatever you have the data, right, it comes to the space. So it's important for you to create a new deployment space. So whatever you develop gets deployed here. So I'm just deploying a space called test, just creating it. So this might, okay, you can give any name. So this might be a test demo. That's why I'm just giving this name. And here you can just from now here, then now it should work. The test demo, create. No, there's some other error. I think there might be some error here. So I've already done this part. So anticipating there might be some last minute issues. So, okay. can just go to my project. There will be something called you can promote to your deployment space. Test promoted. So usually what happens is I can just show you here. So in this project, whatever I've tried creating a AutoML, so this seems to be failing for some reason, but usually it just gives you this model, just builds you model and asks you to promote here. So whenever you try to save your model, it will ideally save like this and it'll ask you for promote. So you can easily click on promote. That would create a regressor or whatever this demand was, and in your test space, and you can just click on promote, and this gets promoted to your deployment space. So once it gets promoted to your deployment space, you can just click here, go to your view all spaces. I've promoted to the my space called test, and here you could see this model. So you could see this model. You could see this test demand. It's whatever I've just done it today. Now it's 27 at 2:52 p.m. and you can just click on deploy. So it will automatically deploy your model and give you the, or maybe the online model, and name can be my test demo. This can automatically create a deployment. Okay, anyways, I've exceeded the deployment available, so that's why it's not getting deployed. But usually in the light version you can't have more than 4 or 3 deployments. Maximum you can have 1 or 2, so you must be within that range. So what I can do is I can just delete this deployment as I'm not using it and associate it with the deployment. So, or you can create one more new space and add your deployments there. So you can't use too many with because this is a test tenant or the test agent. So I have already some 2 3 models already running here. So let me just try deleting and deploying it again. This should. So you can just click on deploy, test, and create. So what it does is it automatically creates your deployment. Okay, again, the resources are high. I think we can just have one of your services. So this is a restriction which we usually see it. I already have 2 of my model that are running, and they are important because we are just building some POC. So usually 1 or 2 is what we can have. More than that, it tends to fail. You can delete one of them and try to deploy it again. Looks like there is some problem now, so it's giving me that I've exceeded the resources. So this is how you can I generally deploy a model. Or let me just try from here to create a deployment. It's one and the same. No. Okay, maybe allocated hours I might have exceeded for a month, so that's why it's not try to deploy it. But ideally you can just promote and try to deploy it. I've already done one for my model here. If you just go here and see, this has been already deployed, and can just give some params, and you can have some features. You can just do a curl, and this is how it is. So this is as simple as that. So you can just give some IAM key and deploy it. And Deployment is that simple. You can just click on this and do a promote. And there is one more other way to deploy as well. This is not the only way you can just deploy a model. So there is, I think, there could be one more space which I can just show it to you. These are the only space. Okay. So ideally, you can just do a deployment, or you can just deploy a model with the code also. So those codes are already available. You can just show and sample here. So the same demand prediction model which I have done with the multivariant, and I've just deployed it. I'm just getting a scoring. So what all the methods I've followed is what I'll be just very high level. I'll be walking you through with, and I've just installed few. I've created a pipeline. I'm just not talking about it. I'm just creating a package. I'm just from there is where I'll just take you through. So I've just created a IBM. There is a IBM Watson machine learning from the API client. I just defined it, and I've just used the API key for it. And I've just put the API URL and API client, and I've created this instance of a WT credential, and I've created a client communication. So you can see what all the spaces available under this. So I have one space, so I'm just using that space, available space, to deploy my model, and I'm putting all the packages needed in the package file. Uh, I'm just naming my package. This is a custom package which we have created for our specifically for deployment, because some of the libraries may not be available. That's why we have zipped it and they use it as a custom zip file here. So once you give this package, that is where you just go and tell that this is an extension and add your extension to your client. So that is what we have done. This is just a meta to show. And then we just create a spec out of it, telling what is your base GUID, or what is the configuration, the base software specification, the description. So here the base software we are using this default Python 3.7. So I've just provided that specification. I'm just adding this here, and then you're just storing the specification in some other variable, and finally putting all your specification and added packages to your client. So once you do that, you just naming your model, what does it mean, and what is the basically your type. It's sklearn. So I'm just providing that type and whatever the ID I have created previously. Then finally you just publish your model. You put your transformer. Transformer is nothing but your product end model, and you do it. So this might be a little too much or too much of code, but I can always share few links where you can just write this code also. So once you do a model, whatever the client, you just store a model based on your model output, your train data. You just do you just do a publish model here. So you just get the details of your model for to publish it, and finally you just create a deployment out of it. So these are the steps we generally follow. We just do it through the code. So that's how we can do. But this is a very easy step, and anyone should be able to do this. So it's just failing because it might be some issue to with the service as such. But usually you should be able to just add to project and just promote it. So let's just see one more example of some other assets already available, so that you can just see how can you just promote using Watson machine learning easily from the UI instead of going through all this. So as I was talking previously, you have this home, all the projects, all the deployment spaces available, the services. Let's just go to the service catalog. So here you can find a lot of other services. We have already seen Watson Studio and Watson Machine Learning. Machine Learning is for deployment. Watson Studio is nothing but for all other custom models, or to build connectors, to have your notebook. So for that, that's what we use. And before before I go to each, let me just give a overview on each of the services. Watson OpenScale is nothing but to monitor all your models once it's been deployed. Next is Watson Assistant. I already talked about this. Then it's Watson Studio. Watson Studio is nothing but it enables you to create and build model and stuff like that. And then we have Watson Knowledge Catalog, Watson Discovery. So what all I had showed you in that entire set, you can see all the list. It's basically divided into AI and machine learning. In case if you want to use some database, that's also available here. And for analytics, if you want to use some analytical engine or Cognos dashboard, that's also available. That's all for your analytics to see your data. Then in case if you want some Kafka, this is nothing but Apache Kafka. It's nothing but an event stream service and some secure gateway to connect to any of this. And finally, you have some storage. Storage is nothing but your cost bucket, which I had already explained. So telling this, let's just and go back to Watson Studio. And let's just look how can we add a notebook, right? So we had seen AutoML. We know how do we automate all the AutoML stuffs. Now let's see how do you add a notebook to it. So we are done with data connection connected AutoAI experiment. So let's just try adding a notebook. So here in the notebook, you can just specify the name. There are three ways to add. Either you can just write the entire code here, or you can add it from a file, or you can add it from any URL. Okay, I'm just entering it from a simple file, telling that or test demo. So this has been created in Python 3.7. That should be okay with 2 CPUs and 8 GB RAM. That's decent enough. So once you create, this is similar to your Jupyter notebook. So someone who is not familiar with Jupyter notebook, you might be almost familiar with a lot of code editors, right? Maybe like Notepad or Visual Code or Eclipse. It just provides you a format where you can put in your data in a very nice and give some documentation and use it and represent it in very nice format, right? Basically, that's what this Jupyter kernel also does. So all your execution of your code is done by your kernel, and you can write the code in this Jupyter uh, notebook, and you can easily save it, publish it, save it and share it, and it's just an IDE which you can use. It's a very user friendly IDE is what I tell. So here you have two kinds of cell. One is a code cell and one is a comment cell. So you can just use this markdown or heading to tell that what is it about. So just a description telling that it's a demo. If you just run it, it becomes a comment. So then you have this code tenant. So I'm just taking this code telling that import pandas from as PD, sorry, as PD. So the pandas has been imported as PD. Then before you just read something, or if you want a code snippet, right? So one of the very nice thing hmm, about this service available is you can just click on this. There is something called 01100. That's where you can find the data. So you already have this data here. You can just click here and just click on this to install it as a code. So in case if you run this, you can see all the data. So this service has made so like in case if you just upload data, you can just go instead of writing so much of code, and then you can go on with the transformation you need, right? Any models or anything. So now let's just go on each of them. You can just save, you can export, you can cut. This is for all your cell operations you can run. And there are three things. Then you can have this heading, and then you can have some markdown telling that maybe after this I want to add a cell. This is where you add a cell and tell that this is for all your markdowns. For markdowns, maybe this is to import my data, right? Or I can just make it better by adding used Boto to connect my or storage or something like that, right? So this is nothing but your markdown language where you can use it. And This is nothing but your heading, and you can just format it in such a way that anyone who reads this who reads this notebook will be able to understand. These features are exactly same as your Jupyter kernel. So it internally uses your, sorry, Jupyter notebook. It internally uses your Jupyter notebook as a service here. So this is inside Watson Studio is what you have. Then you have all that: restart, cell, insert, above, below, view. You can just edit, merge columns. So there are a lot of operations you can do, even exporting. And in case if you need any helps regarding this or any reference about all the libraries available, you can always go here and check in here. So after this, you can always publish to Git or anywhere you want to publish. If you want to share it, okay, make this cell available so that you can share it with people and they can see your code. So include all code in case if you just do this. So I'm just opening it in one more tab, maybe my Explorer, because anyways I've not authenticated, but I can always see your code. See, I have not logged in, but I can see this code. So this is how you can collaborate and share your code. One more way to do it, just closing this link. This is where you can download this code and some project token in case if you want. And this is a version control and comment telling that in case if you are multiple people are collaborating on the same project or something like that, you can always add your views. So this is about the Watson Studio part. Now we're just talking about this add to project. Then you have some dashboards. This is all for your visualization. In case if you want to visualize your data or see something, you can always use. This is for all your visual recognition model. Used to, if you want to classify, you can use the service directly from here. This is your natural language classifier, which I had already told you can use it for all your classification and use that. This is to analyze data with to basically that to analyze your data with machine learning or deep learning algorithms. So in case if you want to analyze and see if there is some discrepancy in your data, the data is not enough. So usually you know that whenever data is a very crucial part for any machine learning, and in case if you want to know what is the analysis, right, can I use it, so this is where you can use. You can just put model from file and use any algorithms or analyze the data with any machine learning. Then you have some SPSS modeler, basically used to train, deploy. You can do a training, you can deploy a model, you can do an analysis, you can view it in a table and get it. So that's what SPSS is all about. Then you can create some ordered, set of you can cleanse data, you can shape it, you can enhance your data. So that is where your data refinery flow helps. So basically you can do this analysis there. And then you have something called decision optimizer. So this is a simplex model. Any decision optimization problem, in case if you already have it, you can directly use this decision optimizer to solve it. So these are the various features. I'm not going through in detail this. So I think these are the ones which are very much helpful. That's why I went a little detail on it. So these are the ones that are available as a service here. Now let's go to the catalog and see what all are the services. So we saw the catalog. We can always go to this gallery. So this gallery is a part where you can find all the deployed models that are already there. So you can see you're deploying your model with the decision optimization. So this has your model, your data, your content. So this can be used there. So something like this, we'll have a lot of data available. Maybe let's just search for COVID. So this is a sample project just to filter your this just has some data set. So let's just search for notebook.
Ma'am, there's one more question.
Yeah,
So Om's asking if people are collaborating in the Jupyter notebook,
yeah.
will edits be visible like how it's in collaboratory, or will it be will it not be visible like in Kaggle notebooks?
It depends on the access control you provide, right? So in case if whenever you try to add a collaborator here, you can always choose the role they want. Admin, if they just want to be a viewer, they can be a viewer. If they can be editor, you can add some people as editor and they also can edit it. So it depends on the role you give here. It's role based. So in case if you don't want someone to edit your code, you can always add them as a viewer and just leave it. Or in case if they want the same privileges as you, like adding some people, managing the assets, so you can add them as admin. Or in case if you just want them to be an editor in your thing, you can just add it. So it's controlled by the admin basically. I hope that answers your question, and that was your question. So you can use any of this sample project or sample notebook. So sample projects is what we can use. So this was a sales. This is a sales plan and operation planning. So let me just create a notebook. Just using this service. I'm just using the same service I have just created. So whatever looks like there's a lot of problem here. So usually you can just go to the catalog and just add some things. So any of these projects you can ideally add it. Okay, there's some problem with this. Let's just choose some other ones maybe. From the catalog gallery. Some project. We could use is the data sample project TensorFlow. So we can use this fashion one. We have 3 notebooks, we have 2 Excel files, and this, I think this should be a good one. And create it. This is how you can create all the existing project from your catalog and use it. So this is about the fashion MNIST project that sorts your fashion images based on your cloth or something like that. So you can use this project, and maybe with the data you have, you can look into it, maybe see the catalog, you can try deploying it. So this will be a very good exercise to deploy. So that's why I thought of using it. Meanwhile, before that gets instantiated, let's just go and look through other services or other things available. So I had just talked about all this here, the category, all the service catalog, right? Now, just for this, for your understanding and little bit, I want to cover on other services. And last 5 minutes, I'll just open for questions. So there's 15 minutes left. In next 10 minutes, let me just try covering all the services, at least a glimpse of the services, so that you can use it in your uh, any uh, any of this hackathon or like that. So what am I doing is now I'm just showing you what's an assistant. What's an assistant? I have already created a service for it. So in case if you see, there are a lot of Watson assistant services. So I think I'll be choosing the chatbot test. Yeah, I'll be choosing this chatbot test. You can just go here, click on this and create. It's similar to how we created the Watson Studio one. So this is nothing but for one of the hackathons we had created this and we had integrated it. So this might be a little one interesting one. So there are a lot of integration points for Watson Studio, I mean Watson Assistant as well. So you can integrate in your code directly. You can just click on this integrations and preview the link. Either you can use the same UI which it provides, that's nothing but the web chat. So what I've done is I've created this web chat. In case if you go here, you can customize it, not to extreme level, but a level where you can customize the UI and you can easily choose what you want, and you can use it as your live agent as well, and you can embed it. So it's a very simple tag, that's a script tag. So I've just copied it. You can always go. So I've created a basic HTML telling with a small tag, and I've just added the script tag here. So, and I've saved it in my local. I can give me a second. Let me just open it. Meanwhile, this gets created. So just close it. So I've just saved it in my desktop. In case if you see, I can have this service. So it asks for a lot of things what I want to see. So this is directly coming from the, and type something whichever I want. So this is directly coming from the service. Sorry. Too many things open. Let me just close. I think I just closed it. My bad. So this is how you can just integrate it very easily with any applications you build. I was here, sorry. And you can just do a close of it. And this is Watson Assistant. In Watson Assistant, you have something called entities and intent. Entities are nothing but any word you want, like it might be food, it might be place, it might be, you can create a lot of entities for this. Intent is nothing but food can be the entire questions related to food can be one intent, where you can define one intent as weather and ask questions related to weather, food, ask questions related to food, something like this. So we create intents and entities and build a dialog flow here. I can just show, this is a very simple one which we had done long back. So there are some already catalog available for some of the features. You can use that skill and you can build your own dialog. So once you add that intents and entity, so this is a about the bank where what is the activation card and some recommendations are provided. So you can just add it, but these are just the skills gets added, but you'll have to design your own dialog. So this is entities where you add activation card. Each can be a one of your entity. And intents, here we have just taken category. It can be category values, could be food, movie, type, this can be anything. It can be a place, it can be anything. So some of the system entities are already available, like some number, some percentage, some currency, like date. So you can activate it as and when you need. And then you just create a dialog. You create a node, you create a response for it. So this is a category spend. What I've done is I've created, whenever it sees there is a, whenever it recognizes this intent, this is nothing but my intent telling that category expenditure, something related, mm, show me the expense for food or something like that. So whenever there is, so see, in case I've given the sample, what is the expense of on it category, so this and this will give me, should give me this response. So this is as simple as that. So already I've built this question. So let me just quickly ask what, so I might want this, since this is a chatbot, so you will need to ask the same questions here. I get confused. So, so what is my expense on food? So what is my expense on food? So currently this might be a static reply. So I'll just embed it in my, so whatever response I get, it's whatever I've put in here. So this can be done. This is just a static response, but you can always embed it with some webhook or some API. So here you can see do you want to call out to webhooks? You can just add, and you can add a webhook here. Since it's missing, it's just telling missing, and you can always add some APIs endpoint and you can define your own. So this is one of the most useful services which I think that's why I just showed a small demo of it. One is a tone analyzer. Even this is similar. You can just go and open the docs. Once you create a service, you get an API key and the URL. So what I've done is I've already created the service and I've just copy pasted the URL so that I can just show it to you. I've just used the curl command to get the response of it. So let me just do a clear screen. Yeah. So basically what I'm trying to analyze is there's a sentence telling that team, I have a tough time. Product sales have been disappointing for the past 3 years. Sorry, for the past 3 years, for the past 3 quarters. We have a competitive product, but we need to do a better job of selling it. So this is a sentence. It might be a sentence that told by some of your manager in your product team or product sales team. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to get the analysis of it. So I'm just doing a curl. I'm just doing a get call with the API keys and the URL along with the text, whatever I want. In case if you see, I just got a response. If you just see, it has been identified as 61%. It's a sad one. So based on this, you can do some. This is the analytics that run. It gives you a score based on your happiness, your sadness. This is a tone analyzer. So just thought of showing you this example, which you can quickly integrate, and it's pretty simple. And you can just go through the API docs of each of this to get more insights on this. So this was just about your tone analyzer. Then one more thing which I just thought it might be helpful is what's a knowledge store. So let me just quickly open that. So even what's a tone analyzer is as simple as that. Let me just show how do you. Oh, this is just uploading. This looks like this might take some time because there might be too much of data also. So any service you want, you can just click here. You can just go to the resource list and then click here. So you have the service, you can just go here, within the light version, create it. Just create it. So you just have 2,500 API calls per month. So make sure your limit doesn't exceed beyond that. Then in case if you want any other service, right, it might be, now let me just switch back and show you one more example of discovery service. So this is already opened here. I'm just launching this discovery here. So what I've done is I was just running the Watson Discovery news, where it scrolls through news and it gives me some output. So basically, you can run any queries. It does a sentimental analysis, like if your news is positive, negative. It gives you all kinds of concepts which it tried tagging. So in it from the news, it has fetched there are United States of. It's just a concept tagging. Concept can as be simple as each of your word, right? So each of your word is defined as a concept and it has tried tagging that based on the ranking. So it has found stock word in 1011K and English language films in 827K or something like that. So this is a high level keyword extraction. So this is a service I was just talking about where you can just either upload a data, upload a new collection and get some analysis on top of it. So either you can upload your own data. Currently, it may not be suitable for my plan because I already have one of my sources, but connect to any data source. So these are the two things available. And you can always try doing a query on top of it. So here I'm just doing getting started and you can build a query. This is a simple query I've used. Use the sample query, or you can always build your own query. It's not like you'll have to go through this. So the same thing I've just taken it as in an API format here, the same query, the enriched one. And if you just try hit this URL, you will get all the news related. It might be too much, you might have to curate it later based on, or you can just go for the specific ones. So even the documentation for this is available in your studio. So in case if you see there are too much of data on what all, where all it has found that word called artificial intelligence, and entity wherever it found that artificial intelligence concept, it has just curated everything for you. So this is how you can use some of the queries and the services available. The one more service which I thought it might be interesting to show is Watson visual recognition. So in case if you want the Watson to recognize some food based on your some of the images, you can just give some image URL. So based on your image URL, it can directly identify what kind of image is it and classify it. So this is not available. Let's just pick any food, maybe palak paneer or whatever food you want. I'm just copying the address. This is too much detail. Copy image address. This is the same thing. So I'm just providing this here. Just running this classify as food. So this is also one more service similar to this. You can just go to that and you can just click on this visual recognition and do it. Uh, this looks a little messed up. Let me just clear my terminal. Looks like it hasn't identified it, but I can just show you a sample which I've done uploading few of the visual recognition thing. Visual. So you can go into this service. I've already created a service here and launch this studio, or launch it in a Watson Studio. And based on this test, I could just upload or get some proper images so that you'll have the right URL, or you can use your GitHub and get some analytics scores like this. It has uh, classified it as a stuffed grape leaves, and it's green, and the cabbage, and this might be a little irrelevant. So based on this, you can just train it. So this is how it is recognized based on your picture. This is a visual recognition that's already available. So whatever the prior example which we had, this actually works. I'll just show you with that example as well. This is a default example that was already given. So you can see the score. The food class was apple. What is the score? Confidence score, raspberry, fruit, and banana. Maybe there was some images. I couldn't see the image, otherwise it would be very nice to show this example. It was a fruit ball basically. So it has recognized only apple and banana, looks like. And that's it. I think these are the various services I had to show. And looks like this thing is taking too much of time still in the step. So since there might be a lot of data, it might take time. I just wanted to show how you can just easily promote it to your data. It's the same thing I showed here because I'm just lagging few of the resources. That's why I couldn't show the way you can promote it to the deployment space and directly deploy. But for you, it shouldn't take much time, or you can follow some of the code structures to do it. So in case if you have any questions, I'm open to take few. So let me know in case if you have any question. Satvik, I'm almost done.
Yes, ma'am. We'll wait for about 2 more minutes to see if anyone has a question. Then we
Yeah,
can wind the session.
sure.
Ma'am, someone, okay, Om has asked what are webhooks? Like, I think it was there in the chatbot API when you were explaining.
Okay, so webhooks can be, let me just give you one example. So there are nothing but API endpoints, okay? So you already have defined one API, or you can find some COVID-19 APIs, which gives you some endpoints where you can just query it and get the result, right? So there are a lot of open source APIs, or you can build your own APIs and points, and you can get the data. So that's what endpoint looks like. I don't see any endpoints here. It can be as simple as this endpoint, right? Whichever I just shared. This is an endpoint where you get uh, the API details. So in case if I try it on my screen, basically this is an endpoint, and you get some data from here, right? And I've already given the API key, and that's why the authorization has been passed. So you get this code. So this is the output. So this can be one of your webhook. Okay, this can be an API webhook which you can integrate this to your Watson assistant or any other. So it can be any API basically, any REST GET or POST APIs. You can just. I hope you are familiar with the API concept and the GET and the POST. So that's how you use it. Something that gives you data in some format is what an API is.
There's also one more question related to the chatbot, ma'am.
Yeah.
So, as well as asked, how do we change the UI of the chatbot?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, what happens is, similar to your all the services available, Watson Assistant also gives you a API interface where you can use Watson's Assistant APIs, and based on the response, you can design your own chatbot. That's just a API endpoint, similar to all the services, right? Your visual recognition. There is a Watson assistant APIs as well. So whenever you try to go, let me just show you those API keys, and you can, maybe I can just post few links where you can just go through the documentation of it. It's very simple. It's simple, but you'll have to design your own UI. That's it. Let's search for the service. So this is where you find your API. These are your API keys and your URLs. So you can just quickly go this and see what are the methods available. So to get or create a session, delete a session, all kinds of things you can do with your APIs itself. Let me just post it on the screen. Uh, I'll just share it with Satvik. I think maybe you can just post this URL somewhere. I don't know where else should I post it.
Yes, ma'am. I'll send it.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Any other questions?
I don't think there are any other questions, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Please do reach out to me in case if you have any questions on Watson services. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or leave me a email also on pratnamj29@gmail.com. So that's all I had. Thank you so much. This was a good session.
No. So thank you for this wonderful session, ma'am. So I think I'm speaking for everyone when I say that this was a very interactive and insightful session, and we gained a lot from this. So I hope that in the future too we can have many more sessions like this where Hackerspace collaborates with IBM. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Satvik. Thank you. It was very interactive. Thank you, everyone.